Call to order and welcome you all here tonight. We're opening remarks, public comments. I hand that over to the superintendent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So at this time, I'm going to ask Amy Hurd if she'll come forward, and she will give you the highlights of the proposed 25-26 school budget.
Dr. Kelly, Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening.
Good evening.
This is the culmination of what we've been doing since January 9th. I feel like that we have spent a lot of time talking about a lot of things in regards to the budget for the 25-26 school year. So we'll briefly look at some of the items that we've discussed over the last 6 months. As we've started out each meeting, we have looked at the process for the budget from the state level that impacts our local level. And if you'll remember, when we met back in May, the legislators were fixing to go to the conference committee, and then it would need to go to the governor. Last year, the governor did his vetoes on June 30th, the last day of the fiscal year. I am very pleased that the conference committee met the middle of May, hashed out their differences, and brought both bodies back in the last week of May, and a budget was presented and approved by the House and the Senate via the conference committee before the end of May. That was record time for us, and that is great, so that we would have the final numbers so we could present those to you. The governor has since done his vetoes as well. The only educational veto that impacts districts is not a really big one to us. The legislators still have until next January to override the veto, but he did veto the buses being allowed by nonprofits to be used. So 2 years ago, they set laws saying that we could not allow nonprofits in our community to use our school buses. And then this year, the legislators come back and put it into the budget that we were allowed to allow nonprofits in our community to use our school buses at a fee. But the governor has vetoed that. So we are still going under that is not allowed at this time. So to get into the nuts and bolts of what you guys and we've been talking about is that we do have a balanced budget for the 25-26 school year. There is no millage increase in this budget for Anderson School District 5, so our taxpayers in our community will not see an increase in their millage for any of their property taxes for the 25-26 school year. And just as a reminder, we are the lowest millage in the county from all of the 5 school districts. So if you live inside of Anderson School District 5, you have the lowest tax bills of any district in Anderson County. The budgeted numbers that you've seen throughout the process have changed over the House and the Senate version. So what we presented for first reading was the Senate version, which is revenues being $161.1 million for the general fund, and the expenditures obviously matching that same amount. That is a 4.92% increase over the previous year, and the state consumer price index and growth in our county was 4.38% for the year. So really pleased that we're very close to just maintaining the cost of living. You may ask, Amy, you said that they've been through the conference committee already, and you're still showing me the Senate version of numbers. We do have the numbers from the conference committee. One of the reasons the conference committee could work so quickly is because the Board of Economic Advisors met after they finished legislation in early May. Board of Economic Advisors met in the middle of May and added a lot of additional state revenue that the conference committee could allocate out. So it was very easy for them to work out their differences because additional money was pumped into the state budget for next school year, like $1 billion. So it was a lot of money. So we do have the conference committee numbers. It is not administration's recommendation to use those numbers. They are $177,000 more than what you have seen through the entire process. And the reason that we are saying that we would like to leave it as is because the State Department of Education readjust our funding after the 45th day and the 135th day based on our enrollment. And it's not only based on our enrollment going up and down, it's based on the enrollment of charter schools and every other district in the state of South Carolina. So our enrollment can increase and they can take money from us. But if our enrollment decreases, we're definitely gonna lose some of the funding that they have projected. So it is our recommendation of the $177,000 that we leave that set aside in case our funding decreases and the state reduces our funding in December for the 45th day, and then we would look at it again in May. If for some reason we don't lose funding or we don't lose students to in turn lose funding, our recommendation would be to use the money for incentives for our students and paying of our teachers to do extra teaching before testing next year. So we would like to do incentives to make sure that our teachers are here. We would like to do incentives for our students to make sure that they're here in school. But obviously we will need to wait and see if we'll need this money to offset the funding decrease. We still may bring a proposal to you in regards to incentives with another funding source if we can find something available for that. But I wanted to be very transparent and say, if you go to the State Department of Education's website and you look at Anderson 5, there is going to be a $177,000 difference between, if you combine all the categories, it's going to be $177,000 more than what you have been presented over this budget process for the last 6 months. Okay, some of the highlights, again, the state revenue, just aid to classroom, state fringe, tier 3, health insurance money. We just get an allocation straight from the state. We did, as the board, add funds from 4K to the local budget. Again, we could have asked for millage. The state allowance would have, the state and local allowance would have been 8 meals, which would have been slightly over $2 million. But we were, again, able to do everything that we needed to do in this budget without increasing the millage and getting that additional revenue. And again, to try to be transparent in the budgeting process, we could have not adjusted our property tax revenue line item and just left the budget unadjusted, but that is not what our collections are going to look like, and we want to be transparent when we put our financial statements out there. What we anticipate to collect is what we're showing the public. So that was a $2 million line item adjustment, which also went into that 4.9% increase. That is not new money. That is not money that's going to be added onto the taxpayers. It's just getting our line item correct from what we are receiving from the businesses and the second homeowners in our cars in our county. Our expenditure highlights, pay increases, $2,000 for the teachers, $3 an hour for our assistants, $4 an hour for our HVAC technicians. The board did adjust the principal salary scale quite significantly this year. Then everybody else that's not in one of those categories will receive a 2% cost of living adjustment. All teachers are required to get a step increase, but we have it budgeted for all employees that are eligible. To be eligible, you have to work a certain amount of days. That's what determines eligibility. The state determines the amount of eligibility days for teachers, and the district determines the others. For everybody outside of teachers, it's that you had to work at least 1/2 of your contract to be eligible for the step increase. The state did an employer-only health insurance increase, which is 4.6%. The additional staffing that we have added for next year is an additional multilingual teacher, a multilingual translator to help all of our schools, 6 secondary interventionists, an elementary alternative class that includes a teacher and an assistant, and a part-time school staff member to a full-time. Additionally, we've added school security staff and equipment. We had to increase our special education maintenance of effort. That is a federal requirement that we make sure that we spend more money in a future year than the current year that we're in. We also have increases in our workers' comp, liability insurance, contracts that we had, and utility payments. The county-wide alternative school asked us to increase our capital contributions to the Renaissance Academy for some needs that they have. So the board has approved that as well. And additionally, beginning next June 30th, we will pay out $65 a day for anybody that has more than 90 days of sick leave. The max that anybody could have is 105.75, and then you use that for the year, so anything more than 90 would be paid out because everybody drops back to 90 as of July 1st. Savings to the budget was we eliminated a district level position, we eliminated a vacant digital integration specialist, we eliminated the lunch monitors, and we reduced our teachers across the district by 7 due to our teacher pupil ratio. In the savings to the budget, no one was riffed or fired or not at, this was all due to vacancies, retirements, attrition throughout the district. Just one thing that, again, we want to make sure that we highlight to make sure that you are aware. We did receive recertification in the last week or so that we have been recertified for another 4 years of community eligibility program. You probably hear us call it the CEP program, and that's where all of our students in all of our schools will eat free breakfast and lunch. The district has allowed free breakfast and free lunch for some of our more impoverished schools for a long time. Then COVID came along and the federal government allowed free breakfast and lunch for all schools. Then one year we went back to paying, and then Quentin and the Culinary Services Department was able to work the funding out to where we could go back and allow all of our schools to get free breakfast and free lunch. So really, really happy and proud about this. I think it's something that our parents really enjoy. And as you guys know, one of the benefits that the board put in for staff members over the last couple years is that staff members eat free lunch 3 days a week. And I know Dr. Kelly gets a lot of compliments and comments on thanking the board for that. They even ask us sometimes if we could go to 5 days a week, and that may be a request for next budget year, but it is a costly budget item, but our staff does appreciate that. So our next steps is during the regular meeting that we will, as soon as we adjourn here, we'll go into our regular scheduled board meeting. We will ask for second reading of the budget that has been presented to you. And then Dr. Kelly and I will be at the County Board of Education on June the 23rd to present this to them for their approval during their budget process. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hurd.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we adjourn from this presentation.
We need
Public comments?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We asked for public comments.
Any public comment?
We didn't have any, and I did ask.
Nobody
that,
signed it.
but,
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second?
So do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Or is there any discussion? All in favor by approving by agenda, this meeting by raising your hand?
All in favor of adjournment, said
Yes.
voting to adjourn?
Adjourn,
Okay.
yes, to adjourn. Hey, we don't have
We're
what they
missing
do.
one, yeah.
Okay. So the motion passes unanimously. Okay, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. Our invocation will be by Mr. Haywood and pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, just want to come to you tonight. Just thank you for your goodness, your grace, and your mercy, Lord. Just thank you most of all for sending your Son to die on the cross for us, Lord. I pray that you just bless each family that's represented here tonight, Lord. Lord, I pray you just be with the board as we come together tonight to make these decisions, Lord, for our schools and children, Lord. I pray you just help us come together and make decisions that would honor you and that would be best for the kids, Lord. And we'll just thank you and praise you for all you're going to do here tonight. In Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone has had the opportunity to review the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Tonight we have recognition of excellence from T.L. Hanna High School, 5A Boys Golf, 2025 State Champions. T.L. Hanna High School, 5A Boys Track and Field, 2025 State Champions. And I'll leave that to our superintendent so that she will be able to do this excellent thing. And we're just so glad that you won.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will reiterate your words. We are so excited for our students and our coaches and our families for the opportunity tonight to celebrate you all and your accomplishments. And I do want to point out several of our athletes, I don't know if many of you get the Electric City News, several of our athletes have already earned stardom because they have a whole page dedicated to them, dedicated. So we're just so excited for our athletes and our coaches, and I'm going to ask Mr. Mayfield if he'll come forward.
Bell.
Okay. Coach Bell, if he'll come forward and introduce us to these wonderful athletes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelly. Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to come up here and present to you folks once again. This will be the third year in a row that we get to honor the T.L. Hanna boys golf team. It was an amazing accomplishment this year as T.L. Hanna was able to win their state championship for that third year in a row. I went through the record books and checked. The runner-up team was Greenville High School. They had an amazing team this year. Clemson Golf Commit was their number 2 golfer. They were amazing. They shot 4 under par as a team. That score would have won the state championship in every state championship every year except for one. It was well over 180 state championships that have been contested. Their score was good enough to win every single time, except one year against Gaffney, and then this year against the T.L. Hanna Yellow Jackets. So more than 99% likelihood that we would have lost with their score, and yet somehow the boys rallied together and were able to win. It was a tremendous accomplishment by the T.L. Hanna golf team. It was an outstanding year as they competed against many of the best programs in the Southeast, and we are fortunate enough that we will return a large number of them next year as we go for that 4th state championship in a row. I would like to introduce some of our team members who are able to be here tonight. We've got several who are at Boys State, either as counselors or participants, and we've got a couple that are at golf tournaments, but we were able to have 6 of our team members that would come forward. Golf team members, when I call your name, if you'll come through and just kind of introduce yourself to the board members and shake hands, and then we'll do a picture at the front of the room with the school board as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you, and we'll applaud at the end for everyone since it is a couple of names. Ladies and gentlemen, our first golfer, Mr. Tyler George, Mr. Matthew Kornhauer, Mr. Wilson Cawley, Mr. Cruz Osborne, Mr. Aiden Edgar, Mr. Hudson Fauci,
Congratulations.
and head coach of the T.L. Hanna Yellow Jackets, Mr. Eric Bana. Ladies and gentlemen, if you all will, please help join me in recognizing our state championship.
Tom,
Yes, sir.
when's the last time we've had a 3-in-a-row team championship, or have we ever?
Let's see, at T.L. Hanna, it was probably the track team back with Coach Jones in the 1970s. Cross country with Coach Parker won back-to-back 2 different times, but I don't know that they won 3 in a row. So it's probably the 1970s with Coach Jones and the boys track
Very
program.
impressive.
All right. Board members, if y'all don't mind, please kind of stand in behind them and joining in. We'll get that photo. And
Thank you for
Yes.
us.
I'm going to stand on this chair.
No, I've been in enough pictures.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Proud of y'all.
Great job.
Board members, we certainly appreciate your gifts to the boys golf program, and Ms. Leverett, as the chairwoman, we would present you with our plaque this year for the 3 state championships in a row, and you can show this off to Mr. Price because he doesn't get one anymore.
Great job, thank you.
But he did get a helmet from the Montana Golf Tournament.
You did. You did. We also have 2 other presentations of outstanding athletes that we would like to present. In May, the T.L. Hanna boys track team went to the state championship. We finished 4th as a team, but we were able to have 2 individuals win state championships as an individual, and it's an amazing accomplishment. I was a former individual athlete in high school. If you've played golf, cross country, track, the individual sports, swimming, you know how difficult it is to win that state championship by yourself. So it is a very, very, very big deal. We hang pictures of these young men in the hallways at T.L. Hanna, and I tell all of our athletes, if you win one all by yourself, that picture will stay up there for as long as I'm around. So we are certainly proud of that. Our first athlete that I'd like to introduce to you won the triple jump state championship this year at the 5A state meet. If you are confused about the difference between the high jump, the triple jump, the long jump, Mr. Price has said that he will demonstrate out in the parking lot at the conclusion of the meeting. But our first state champion today is Mr. Max Mattress. Sir.
Congratulations, brother. Good job.
Well done.
Great job, baby.
Congratulations.
Max, if you just hang out right there, we'll do a picture in a second. Our final gentleman that we will present tonight won the state championship in the shot put. The school record in the shot put was set in 1971. This young man broke that record this year by 3 feet, and we got more stuff to say nice about him. I am sorry that this young man is also going to cause us to have some budget issues in next year, because our shot put is 60 feet long, which is plenty long enough for 99.9% of people that throw shot. However, our young man now routinely throws it out of our shot put area, and we're going to have to extend it now because of his efforts. He was the state champion in his first throw. He could have sat and gone to sleep, and he would have won the state championship. He didn't even have to throw all the other times. He was the most dominant shot put thrower in the state across all classifications this year. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nate Malcolm.
Good job, man.
Congratulations, Nate.
Well done.
Maybe we ought to name that extra ring the Nate Zone.
Great.
Congratulations, we're proud of you.
I could tell it was in shot put.
Actually, Nate, come over here. Coach Jackson, if you'll come up for a picture as well. You guys, if you will, hold that. Hold that. Turn around right there. Everybody in.
Now, is either one of your mamas out
Yeah.
there? Will you please stand and clap? Oh, Lord, good.
Congratulations, Coach.
So I don't have any paper for anyone, opportunity for the citizens to address the board. So we have action items to begin with, let me find it. Hold. Action items is, May 13th, 2025 board meeting minutes, First Steps Partnership Board appointees, preliminary out-of-district tuition, policy revision, policy JH, students absentees and excuses, first reading, FY 2025-26, proposed budget presentation, second reading approval, and we have the superintendent's report, our monthly finance report. Everyone has had an opportunity to review those minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes and the other items that we will be having tonight?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous, Ms. Lee. And no one opposed, because it's unanimous. Okay. Now, our first one is May 13, 2025 board meeting minutes.
We just put.
Which
Okay.
vote?
Okay, the First Steps Partnership Board appointee.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. So we're recommending that Shelley Blaylock, who is going to be our new Executive Director of Elementary and Early Childhood, to take that position. Currently, it is Ms. Bufford. She currently is holding that position as she is moving July 1 to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. So Shelley Blaylock, I am asking if the board would approve for Shelley to serve in that role.
Is Shelley here?
No, ma'am, she starts with us on July 1. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the First Steps Partnership Board appointee as Ms. Shelley Blaylock.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Everyone has had the opportunity to hear that. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Okay, the next one is preliminary out of district tuition.
Yes, ma'am,
That's
Madam
people.
Chair. Yes, ma'am. In your board packet, there is information concerning about the out-of-district tuition and the formula that is used to create that rate for our families who are joining us that do not live in Anderson School District 5. Currently, we are adopting and looking at the fiscal year 23-24. We currently charge parents $4,148 if they're out of school district and want to join Anderson 5. Per the formula that Ms. Hurd calculates for us, the current cost could go up to $4,907. So it is up to the board if you want to continue with what we're currently charging, if you want to take the new rate, or if you want to do something totally different than either of those. So I'll leave that up to you all.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The 4198 that we're 4148 that we're currently charging, where does that money go? What does it do? Do we still get the same amount of money for these students when they come in? What are we using the 4148?
I'll let Ms. Hurd come to the podium to ask the specific questions. I can tell you that we have 22 students right now that are paying that fee to us for that. And the money is used to help with instruction and that sort of thing, but I'll let Ms. Hurd talk about the exact line items and where it goes.
How many students, I'm sorry?
22.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
sir.
The amount that we receive per student, that's coming in from, the 4,148 is anybody that's coming in from Anderson County, one of the other districts. That's the difference between the 4,588, that would be coming from like Greenville County or somewhere else. The reason the amount is different is because you get a credit for the equalization tax that everybody in Anderson County pays. So that's the difference there. What we do is that money is paid by the families. Typically, half is paid before the year starts, the other half paid before the second semester starts. And that goes into the general fund. It's on a line item in your revenue package. It's about the fourth number down. It's called out-of-district tuition, or it's tuition reimbursement, and then it says out of, and it gets cut off. It's about $91,000 that we have collected for the year. We do still count those students from out of district in our enrollment count that where the state funds us on the 45th and 135th day. So we are getting both when we do this.
So there is no reduction in state or federal funding because we're accepting someone from out of district?
Yes, sir. They don't know that at all. When we give our state reports on the 45th day, it's just truly coming straight from the schools, accounts from inside the school. So no, the state doesn't ask us for how many students are out of district in any district.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Now, I was just, so if we were to freeze it where it is,
Mhm.
there wouldn't be any negative effects on the budget?
No, sir.
How many, out of the 22 students, are they all high school, or are they?
No, sir, it's
different?
all levels.
All levels? The majority of them, do you know where they go to school?
I do. 13 are at Teohana, 1 at Glenview, 1 at McCants, 3 at North Point, 2 at Calhoun, and 2 at Midway.
13 at Hannah?
Yes, sir, 13 at Teohana.
And Hannah's at max capacity?
It's not this year because.
It's not this year?
Yes, we are. But it does count toward that multiplier of 3 for the high school league.
It does,
Correct.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, that is a correct statement. They do count as the multiplier of 3 for any athletics that they would compete in.
Explain
Whether
that
they
to
play
me.
athletics or not, it's total.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that's,
to determine what category you're in.
Division.
So 5A, 4A. So you could have a school of enrollment that could be fairly low, but if you're not in your zone school, there's a multiplier now that goes on folks that are coming in from outside of the zone, and that's a multiplier of 3. So you can have a small school and having to play up. And that's due to those specialized schools that were just coming in and dominating at 1A because they have such low enrollment, but they specialized in this one athletic event and are just winning every year. And then that's when they got into the whole canceling events, and there's some legislation out there now on fees and all of that.
But being 5A, it wouldn't be a problem for Teohana because there is no way to.
well, it could move you to Division I, couldn't it? How close y'all to Division I, Walter?
We're not that close.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
I was joking a second ago, but our enrollment is down a little bit this year, so we're not close to having.
Okay.
Division I.
Are any of those students at Hannah or any of the other schools special education? Do you know?
I do not know that. I would have to get that information for you.
Have we had any complaints about the cost or the price that we've set?
We haven't had complaints directly. We do occasionally get a question about, is there a reduction if I have more than one student? And in the past, I mean, obviously $4,200, if you have 3 kids, that's, $15,000 a year. That's almost private school tuition for one child in some locations. So that's why I think the board looked at this and was considering freezing it. The other issue is that some of our counterparts don't charge anything to come in. So by state law, there is a calculation that we can do, and we can't charge more than that. So this formula that Dr. Kelly has shared with you, this is the calculation by state law. So we could not go above this amount, but it is up to the board's discretion as to any amount. But have we had a formal complaint? Not that I am aware of. I don't think Mr. Newton, have you gotten anything?
The only comments I've ever received from people, has been, hey, they understand their pay, and they just have always asked, should we ever anticipate a drastic increase? Because, again, I think the only ones I've spoken with have no control. Said, it's 500 kids, and all of a sudden it's 1,500, 2,000, 500, 4 kids.
Now, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all very aware, the lottery passed, the Education Trust lottery passed at the state level, and as long as you are 400% or less above poverty, for a family of 4, then you can try to get the state lottery, which is $7,500. We currently have 2 of those individuals that Dr. Kelly just mentioned to you about that are receiving the lottery this year, that we have received funding from that state lottery for them. Obviously, they came in late in the year, so we only got a portion of that, but just want to be transparent that families can reach out depending on their income levels, that they could get a $7,500 scholarship from the state to be used for district tuition.
We're charging the max allowed right now.
I'm sorry?
Am I correct in saying we're charging the max allowed right now? We're not?
No, sir.
Okay, I thought that's what.
But you did say some different things that I hadn't heard. when you said something about the state that didn't matter or whatever.
This year,
Could,
right now, we
I don't
could
know
be
how
char-
the
I'm sorry,
other
Mr.
board
Hagan.
members feel about
could be
that,
charging
but is there any way that we could lower that? Because you're saying that sometimes there's more than one child in that family.
Yes, ma'am. The board has the authority to do whatever you would like. And so as long as we don't exceed that $5,326 calculation for out of Anderson County students, or the $4,007 for in-county students that come in, and I believe, Mr. Galloway might can correct me, I think all of ours are in-county. We used to have somebody from Greenville County that would come in, but I think they have graduated, so I think all of ours are actually in county now. So as long as the board sets the rate that is not above the calculation that you have, we can decide to do anything. You could charge the full rate for one child, half rate for the second child, a third rate, a third of the cost for the third. It is completely up to the board as long as we don't exceed that. You couldn't come in and say, well, they get $7,500, we're charging $7,500. That would be in violation of the law. But you can do anything as long as it's below the amount that we calculate.
You could grandfather who's there and then charge a higher amount, or do you have to have?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. We can do whatever. We would just need that spelled out in case they ever ask for it. But yes, sir, we can do any of that.
So,
Let me ask this question. Let's say these kids are enrolled in Hannah, and all of a sudden Hannah's full.
If you're out of district tuition, availability has to exist.
But I'm talking about, let's say they're ninth grade, and all of a sudden, with all these new houses going, there's no room for them. Do you say you can't come back?
Yes, sir, we can, we
Okay,
do
okay.
have that discretion.
Okay.
And in fact, we have somebody that would like to come in right now that goes back to the question that, I apologize, I don't remember who asked about special education. Somebody that would like to come, Mr. Deuce, somebody that would like to come in right now has, it's one of our classes that is full, that we just by law can't add an additional child to, so we have denied that for next year.
Do you have many call and ask how much it is? Is that a deciding factor, I guess is what I'm
I don't,
asking?
Mr. Galloway, do you?
Not really.
Okay.
so.
I know I have one yesterday that's paying to go to District 4. I don't know what they pay, but
I think they pay about $2,800 in
Okay.
District 4.
So, we're losing population. I'm just trying to think, what if we suspended the tuition program for a
Can I bring
year?
up one thing before you go there?
Okay,
We talked about this last year and the only reason that we have to be careful about suspending the pay for people out of district coming in is we currently don't let our own students within the county switch between schools. So you move right outside of Anderson 5 zone and you pick what school you want to come into and you get into the school, but you've been faithfully in our school system under our leadership and you would like to go to a different school, but if you're crossing clusters, we don't allow you to do that. We just don't want to set a negative tone for our own people. That would be the only, that'd be the only thing.
well, if you're not charging anything, you can pretty much say, look, you go to the closest school, when you're not charging anything. If they want to continue to cross that border, then they pay the full amount. But I just think it's a great opportunity for us to lower a tuition for somebody and to encourage people to come into our district. Good.
let me rebut that. Look at all the houses we got being built. I think we need to be careful of that. I agree with you completely, Mr. Bradshaw,
Well, and-
but I just see all the houses in Belton Highway. I saw them clear more land today.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that we do this permanently, but let's suspend it for 1 year, see what happens. You can always go back in the next year.
Does the superintendent have a recommendation on it, or do you care at all for one? It's fine if you don't.
I do worry what we talked about our own folks not being able to attend West Side if they live on the Hannah side of town, and Hannah, folks on the west side of town wanting to attend TL Hannah, and it looking as if folks outside of our district can come in and choose a school. So that is my worry for that, with it being zero. But now I do understand, we are losing students, and we have lower enrollment now than we have, so I do understand that as well.
Is the low enrollment across all 5 districts though? Are we,
No, sir, they're
change
not
on
all
the dial.
losing students.
like I know 4 is gaining students.
And
Now,
3 shut
but
the door.
we are losing, our enrollment is decreasing. However, if we go back to the demography study that Mr. Grant and Mr. Newton worked on over the past several years, that was predicted in the demography study that was done several years ago. We were in a trend where we were aging out, and then it's gonna kind of flip, and they are supposed to come back. That is somebody's expert advice that we paid to tell us where we needed the board to look at growth. So all I'm just saying is that we are seeing what they have said several years ago come true. For Anderson 5, we know that our enrollment losses are typically to homeschool. We don't know who they are, but we have the numbers. It's not that it's growing hugely. I believe this year was about 30 students.
30 students.
So we lost 30 students to homeschool. The number in total is a large number. And we really lost them during COVID, and they just have not come back. If we look at the trend, we know when we lost them. And Dr. Kelly has done a lot of work trending it out and showing us where it's at. So we know that's something we watch very carefully.
Don't some of them play athlete? Don't some of them cheer and play sports
Yes.
in our district?
They do.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's a difference in high school league and this too, high school league rules and this.
If you come into our, I don't know the answer.
Oh,
to
yeah,
that.
there's a difference in high school
Okay, I
league.
was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
I don't know that.
There's a lot of difference there. Oh, I mean, I've never been, you know me, I've never been in favor of charging them anyway. Dr. Kell, maybe, if you had no tuition, I don't mean to word it this way, let's be honest, you're gonna bring problem students in that nobody else wants.
Well, we have, and I'll let Mr. Galloway, if you want to come forward, Mr. Galloway can talk about the process we currently use, and I think you'll be impressed with the current situations that we have and the rubrics that we go through. So, Mr. Galloway, if you
Good
want to
evening,
explain.
everyone. Typically, if a parent called me and they'd like to come to Anderson School District 5, I point them to our website where we have a form that we fill out, and it has been updated. To answer your question, there's a question on there as to whether or not that child has an IEP 504 or anything like that. And we have them to attach their tax records, if they can, give us their discipline records, their academic records. So just because you apply to come to Anderson School District 5 doesn't necessarily mean you automatically get in.
Okay.
So we try to do our homework and go back and talk to, and a lot of it is local, so we have a lot of great relationships with our local school districts. So I can just pick up the call, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, call someone in District 4, District 3, and just talk to them, or even talk to some of the principals, and they are very upfront and honest. So we have declined some folks based off their
Okay.
history from a behavior standpoint.
That was my biggest concern.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway.
So, Ms. Hurd, I have a question. So this hasn't been used for like Anderson to go to the school of your choice. It's not, people don't pay to stay within District 5 to go to a different school?
No, ma'am, they would not pay. Anybody zoned in Anderson School District 5, when we do our cluster choice back in the early part of the year, and Mr. Galloway and Dr. Kelly worked through that process, we do not charge fees to move within the school system.
I mean, they're not allowed to pay this and
No,
go
ma'am.
to the wrong,
No, ma'am.
you know, the opposite
No,
school.
ma'am. No, that just have to be out of district to come in. And one thing that Mr. Galloway said that I did want to just bring out is if for some reason you live outside of Anderson 5, but maybe you own a business in Anderson 5, or you have a second property in Anderson 5, and of those 22 students, if you have something in Anderson 5 where you pay property taxes to our school district, you get that credit on this bill. So we have one particular family that has a business in Anderson 5, so they go through the process, they fill out the form, Mr. Galloway checks everything, and then they send their tax bill to me. I calculate how much they would owe. This particular family doesn't owe any money because they paid more than this amount in property taxes. But if they paid $2,000, then we would reduce the tuition fee by $2,000 because they're already paying taxes in Anderson 5. So I just wanted to make sure
Now,
that
that's
y'all.
only reduced by the school tax and not the overall tax bill,
Correct,
correct?
it would be the
Okay.
school tax. So but these people are typically businesses, so they're paying the full millage rate, not just the debt millage rate.
So what you're saying tonight, that we just can't say, let's freeze this, or let's say, no, they don't pay $4,907, maybe they pay $3,000
Yes, ma'am.
and
You can,
says,
that's what I need you to tell me, so the students that will be continuing to come back next year, we can reach out to them and tell them, do they owe anything, or how much do they owe? Because we like to have it before the first day of school for at least the first semester, but we work with families, especially if they have several children, we might let them pay monthly or quarterly, or, you know, we work with the families, whatever they need. So yes, ma'am, we need the board to tell us tonight what the amount would be so we can start communicating with our families.
Do most of them that start this stay through the whole high school career?
I think so.
In other words, they're not just gonna come in for a
No,
middle school? Okay.
typically
I know
not.
the family you're referring to has.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, most of them stay. I mean,
I
they
mean, the
want to be.
family I knew just moved into District 5. I mean, they had
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Trust me, I heard it every year.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah, we
tell
help
me,
them.
can you tell me what the most any other district in Anderson County pays?
We are, Anderson 3 was not charging anything, I believe. I have not surveyed my counterparts, so I would need to do that.
Sure.
But I believe they are going to start charging, was the last I heard, was that they were changing their policy to start charging. Anderson 4 charges $2,800, and, they don't use the same formula that I use. They use the amount that was the base student cost the last time the state did base student costs. That's what they charge. I follow the state legislation guidelines on how to do the calculations, so I don't know how that would compare if they were to change that. And I apologize, I don't know what District 1 or 2 does. But I can find out. That is something that I can easily find out.
So we're going from 4148 to 4907.
We currently, since 23-24, we have been at 41-48. That was the calculation for the 23-24, and last school year, y'all wanted to freeze it at that amount, so for this school year, we were still at 41-48.
We freeze it.
And so now it's the question of, do we want to freeze it again, do we want it something else, or do we want it the calculated amount? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we keep it at 4148 as is.
I'll second. So we have a motion and a second.
Any discussion?
okay, I can do that now. Everyone, do I have we had the motion and we had the second. Now is my discussion. Is there any discussion? And I have a discussion. I know you had a formula that you was doing it. Then I heard you say something about another district was doing it and what their price was. I just feel myself, I don't know, you know, my thing, when you did a lot of talking tonight about it, my thing was this: how much does it cost for us to educate a child in school district 5?
More than this amount.
More than $4,000?
Yes, ma'am.
But now, we're still receiving all state and federal funds on those children we allow to come in. So there is no reduction. This is extra money that we're getting for these students, above and beyond what we're getting for everyone else.
What was the reason, do y'all remember, for those who were on the board, why it was frozen? I mean, we're going up, and we freeze. Was there
We
a
had the
reason?
same discussion.
Same discussion.
Should we be
That I remember.
charging, other districts aren't? We were losing a lot at that time to District 3.
Which they have since slammed the door shut.
Yeah.
Yep.
My fear is if you just say any student can come out of district, I don't know about you, but I want my kid at Hannah, or I want my kid at Westside, or I want my kid at Concord, or I want my kid at Whitehall. We're going to just have a influx. There's people that would bring their kid to this district because it's such a great district, and I'm afraid if we don't charge, I mean, if you charge, you've got skin in the game. They want to be here. They want their kids in this district. It's a great district. Our test scores are proven. I would just hate to say, let anybody and everybody come into our district. I'm not trying to be ugly about it, but I mean, I'm just afraid that we're just going to get bombarded with students. Maybe I'm wrong.
I would completely agree. Going to no tuition is gonna come with unintended consequences, those things you can't see, but one of which is, it just kind of opens Pandora's box there. Amy provided us a list, 25 years of out-of-district tuition. We've been doing it a long time. Parents who want their children in this district, they're gonna pay that money. We offer a lot more because of our size, especially your AP. I asked about special ed. When I was working here, I got called about, I remember the Orton Gillingham program. We hadn't, well, maybe we just started it, or we had one teacher trained, and a parent wanted a child to come over for that particular reason. So we have a lot of good things to attract people here. I would agree with freezing it, so
Trill.
take that vote.
I will take one comment. I don't think everybody that wants to be here can be here. If you have 3 kids, it's an additional $12,000 a year. Not everybody has unlimited income, to pay for that. So the motion is to just hold it where it is. It's not to do away with it. It's to hold it where it is and not go up an additional $800. So if you've got 3 or 4 kids, it's saving you $3,200, or $3,400. My math is bad, but we're not doing away with it. We're not opening up Pandora's box, but we're continuing a freeze that was put in place. And I would say we continue to freeze it until somebody catches up with it, then we'll look at it again.
Well, I agree, I agree with that, to freeze it, but see, you brought in too much stuff for me. Because first I was thinking it was people out of the district. Now you're saying that if I go to West Side, I decide I wanna go to Hannah, if I wanna go to Hannah, I can go to West Side.
No, it's out of district, it's out of district.
Okay, so it is out of district.
Yes, it is out of district, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So I agree with, freezing, so,
I'm sorry.
go ahead,
I didn't want to interrupt you.
go
You
ahead.
finished? I agree with charging as well. I just want to throw the point out there that if it is true that this education scholarship trust fund is available, I mean, we see that as available. There's more resources to help families pay this tuition than there ever has been. There wasn't that in the past, so the freezing it is where I'm sort of question. I guess my concern would be, I have some constituents that say, well, I don't have kids, so I don't believe I ought to pay school taxes. Well, with this, I could hear them saying, well, now I'm potentially paying for people out of district too. So I think there's more resources, especially for those. Is it 300% of the poverty level or 400%?
400.
Which?
I think it's 300 the first year and 400 the next
Okay.
year.
I just feel like there's more resources, especially if you need them. So I'm not sure that we need to freeze it, but I support what the board wants to do. I
Do we
agree.
wanna go
I
up?
think we need to.
No, I
I
don't wanna
think-
go
I think we
up.
need to.
Do we wanna go up? 800 more bucks?
The money's available to people who need it to pay it. So we're leaving it on the table.
We've had a motion and, the approval of that, motion that we decided to freeze the money as it is. We've had the discussion on it. All in favor of freezing the tuition
At 4148.
at 4148? Show of hands, I have one negative,
One opposed.
one opposed. So 7. Okay, finished with that one. Policy revision, policy JH, student absences and excuses.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. In this policy, if you will look at the second page of this policy, you'll see some highlights there. That's what I'll be discussing tonight, the changes and revisions to this policy. The first one is changing, it had just written that we would take a written excuse. We just want to add that we'll take an electronic excuse as well. And then I'll read the additional piece that's been added. A maximum of 10 days for year-round courses or 5 days for semester courses may be excused with valid parent notes. Any parent notes after the permitted excused days will be counted as unexcused. Extenuating circumstances can be handled through the school administration to address absences beyond the allowed parent notes. A single parent note may excuse consecutive absences, but cannot be used for absences on non-consecutive days. For example, one note can cover a student who is absent for 2 or more consecutive school days, but separate notes are required for absences that are not on back-to-back school days. And then the last revision on that, habitually tardy students may be referred to, we had district's attendance officer, but now we need to change that to Office of Student Services. So those are the recommended revisions and changes for policy JH, student absences and excuses.
Okay, you've heard that. Do I have a motion to approve the JH student absences and excuses?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve policy JH as presented by the administration.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Thank you for bringing this forward in this format. I believe the community's happy with it.
Yes,
And
thank you
this
so
is-
much.
This is the policy that the county board recommended we change to 5 days,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but
5
we've
parent
decided to
notes.
keep it at
Yeah,
2.
and I think
Yes.
my whole thought process is, I understand what they're saying, but if there's no consequences, it's putting more work on our staff that's not gonna change the results. That's my biggest thought.
And if you look at the very last entry on the policy, which is the legal reference R43-274, it lines up with that, which is based on law of 10 days. So I think we're more in line with the law. We are in line.
It's good to be in line with the law, because the parents should be the first one to make sure the child get to school. So we had our discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? So 8 of us approved it unanimously. So 2025-26 proposed budget presentation, second reading.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, it's just my recommendation that the board approve the budget presentation that Ms. Hurd did in their public meeting.
Do I have a motion to approve, number E?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve the budget as presented for second reading approval.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. The 2% cost of living adjustment on all other pay scales, do any of those other pay scales, would that 2% be more than the $2,000 teacher pay increase?
Yes.
We do.
So if we're capping teachers at $2,000, why would we pay other employees more than $2,000 that teachers are capped at?
That's a great point.
Because teachers make more than the other people.
Not more than people in the district office, not more than, principals, not more than, there are a lot of other pay scales where 2% is gonna make them get a bigger increase than we've allowed teachers to get. So I would suggest 2 different things, and the board take it or, whatever. But, we either cap everybody at 2%, we cap everyone at $2,000, or we, allow at least $2,000 for our teachers, and if their scale gets them more than 2%, give them more, it's either $2,000 or 2%.
We should have hashed all that out in our budget meeting.
We should
We-
have.
We got time, we can This thing's not
Yeah, you
over.
stayed
I like your
democratic
idea,
work
Mr.
with
Bradshaw.
But my thing was, I guess I didn't understand it the way you were saying it. Because I just thought that they were getting 2% of their money and the teachers was getting the 2,000, but they make more money than the teachers make, but now you put everybody in.
Well, if you make 200,000 and 2% increase is 4,000, so you would be getting twice what teachers make. Now, there's not many people on that pay scale, but there's gonna be more than a handful of folks getting more than what the teachers get at 2%.
But we set it up that way from the beginning anyway. So you already set it up that way from the beginning. And I don't like to mess with other people, I guess their
I just want to
money
be fair
and
to our
years.
teachers.
Right, and a teacher would have to be making 100,000 to get over, you know, that'd be 2,000. So do we have any
Right.
teachers making over 100?
I don't know their highest step, Amy. I know, I looked with
I
a
don't know.
doctorate, and I think it's like 90,000. Yeah.
And
So-
the one thing is teachers are 190 days, and some of our other staff members, the 2% on their salaries, they're not working the number of days. So some of the salaries that are higher are working 50 and 60 more days than teachers. So
So they are putting in more time,
just keep that in mind
Yeah.
as well.
a lot more.
And we made their salaries more than the teachers from the beginning.
Well, because, most of them because they work more days.
Yes.
And they're a higher position in the district.
And the salary scale is higher.
Yeah.
Right.
I
don't see-
will
I see
say
no
from a
reason.
management standpoint, it will be very hard to stop it at 2%. The way the salary schedules are set up, they're all based on formulas. And so I can make it work however y'all vote to make it work, but I think that we're messing with the scales that I'm probably gonna always have to hand key, which again, I don't mind that piece, but they're all set up on formulas as you drop down into the next step increase. And so if we're gonna give 2,000, it's just gonna mess up the formulas. But again, we can make it work however y'all wanna do it.
I just have a problem with, I mean, it's a 2% cost of living. You've worked hard, you've been promoted, you're making more money, now you're getting punished for making more money. I have a problem with capping somebody that has worked their whole life to get there, capping them at $2,000, when a teacher, first-year teacher gets $2,000. Well, I get $2,000, she gets $2,000. I just have a problem with that. I think keep it like it is and move forward.
It's back to that old adage of.
I mean,
if
it's
you
less
want
than-
paying all principals
it's
the
less
same,
than-
whether they're 1 year.
It's less than inflation. I mean, it doesn't even keep up with inflation at 2%. I mean, our inflation rate was 4.34 last year, and here we are at 2% raises.
We've also approved a single step as well, and there's generally about 2% between each step.
Up to 2%.
Up to
It's
2%
anywhere
each
from-
step.
It's
So-
unfortunately, that's where we're really gonna mess in my formulas.
Right.
Is that, some, it might be a 0.65, some might be a 1.45, but it's consistent. So when you're a step 6 to 7, that's what it is, depending on whichever scale that you're on. Again, all that was set up during the salary study. This is not something that we have created to try to change salaries for certain people or those kind of things. Those formulas and those steps were done many, many years ago.
So as the step plus the cost of living percentage for the higher paying pay scales is going to compound to significantly more money than our teachers. So I like, Ms. Bradshaw, I liked your idea. If we don't have to worry about 2,000, about teachers going over that $2,000 mark, right? So we could just say everybody gets a $2,000 cost of living, and it would be equal across the board.
What was the second part of your recommendation, Mr. Bradshaw? You mentioned the salaries or the teacher. Was there something else? Did you say maybe
Yeah, you could, if your 2% is more than $2,000 as a teacher, you get that. You either get 2,000 or 2%. whichever is higher.
But that's where it complicates your
It does.
calculations.
It
So that's why
does.
flat
Yes.
2,000. But,
So
Amy, so
I would agree with the flat 2,000.
For all employees.
And again, you're gonna have to be making an awful lot of money, working an awful lot of days for it to even affect you.
And then you look at, you have your assistants, your janitors, your, any other people that's at the school that's not a teacher, they're still making less money, whether you give them 2% or 4%. They're still not gonna get up to whatever it is that you need for the, to say that you're not in poverty.
It'll be my recommendation if we change salary schedules not to approve the budget, because I don't know what that's going to do to the budget. So I can't in good faith stand up here and ask y'all to present that budget, because I don't know what those numbers are going to do to the budget.
Then how do we do that with the July?
I can tell you that the information has already gone to the county board, because
this
I
is
had
something we
to.
should've done back in
I had to
January.
do that because that was their deadline.
I stand by
we-
my motion, we approve the budget as is and move forward.
We can tell the county board what we're doing, that the information has been changed. I don't have a problem with that at all, but I need y'all to know that the county board has this information with the salary schedules and everything that had already been approved, because we have been meeting sometimes weekly since January, and I just didn't see this one coming tonight.
Say it again, Mr. Price, what you just said.
It's gonna throw, $2,000 across the board is gonna kill your budget.
It's
There
gonna
there
be-
comes your tax increase, folks.
Well, I think it's a good thing to put on the calendar for next year too. I mean, put it on the radar.
I think it's too late
Because
now,
getting
'cause it's
that,
gonna kill the budget.
getting that money into the classroom is what we need to be about for sure. And then these, helping these teachers, and I appreciate the intention to do so.
I can't see how, and don't get me wrong, I'm glad to pass the budget tonight and we take it up some other time. But I can't see how capping everyone at $2,000 is a budget buster. I mean, it seems like to me it's gonna reduce our budget instead.
But you're also gonna give some of those that are not teachers,
No,
2%.
I'm saying capping, max it at $2,000.
I just don't think our system is currently set up this way. And again, I'm not saying I can't do it. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. Because again, I haven't had time to think through this. I don't know how to make it say, I think we throw our salary schedules out the door when we do that, because it depends on who you are, if you fit the salary schedule or not your way. So I've got somebody that might make 102 that's a group 7, step 17, and they were supposed to get $2,340, but now they can only get $2,000, so they don't fit on the salary schedule anywhere. So now that every single salary schedule is out the book and everybody has an individual salary schedule, that the supervisors will be determining. What the board would be doing in the future is saying, we have $2 million to give to employees, and supervisors or the board, somebody will be determining what everybody makes, because there is no set scale, because the scale was good except for this employee came in and worked 190 days, so they're going to get, so their salary's not high enough, so they're gonna get the full 2,000 and get them to where they should be, but this one's only gonna get 2,000 instead of 2,400, and some people are gonna get, should have gotten 3,200 and are only gonna get 2,000. And then what does that go do to your principal's salary schedule that we just did? I just think there are a lot of things. I definitely completely agree with you, Mr. Thompson. If this is something the board wants to do, I think we look at it in September and
for
we
that.
start going forward and saying, this is what we would like to do for next year's budget process. We won't, but I think that when you do that, when you start capping, when you start saying 2 or this, I think that's when the scales are gone.
And I don't think it's feasible, so I'll withdraw my concerns, and I'm ready to vote.
I do have another comment. Going back to our last meeting on May 13th, I can voice a concern that all staff should be paid on the appropriate step and appropriate group on our pay scales, and placement on our scales, I feel need to be justifiable, logical, consistent, fair, and transparent. And I'm not convinced that we're there yet. On another note, I want to bring up the board compensation. On May 13th, I made a motion to reduce board compensation, to reduce that amount by $13,200, which represents 4 board members that, who pledged not to take that compensation. That was myself, Ms. Burris, Mr. Hagewood, and Mr. Thompson. That was voted down 5-4, leaving the $30,250 in the budget, correct? And Ms. Hurd, I did not see that come out. So 2 days later, on the 15th of May, the Ethics Commission met and provided a ruling to Anderson 5 on the ethical and legal way to implement board compensation. A summary of that, of their ruling, is as follows. Absent a specific statute providing otherwise, South Carolina Code 813-700 prohibits a school board member from voting to approve an in-term pay increase for himself for the duration of his present term. So had we moved forward with paying board compensation, we'd have been breaking the law, and that's, of course, not acceptable. So, based on the May 15th Ethics Commission ruling, no Anderson board member will be receiving board compensation during the 2025-26 school year. It will not be until after November of 2026, that general election, that 4 board members may receive $300 compensation and $350 for the board chair. Consequently, I'm making a secondary motion to repurpose the $30,250 line item for board compensation to be used for, and I'm just calling it student assistance. It's already come up tonight about that's $177,000, forget the term that was used, but this is specifically student assistance. I've heard from my constituents and from teachers on the importance of focusing our budget on the classroom, and I feel strongly this should be prioritized for students and not adults. I'll leave it up to the administration to determine the focus and method to use this $30,250. I might suggest using that money to pay for students' field trips or supplies, materials, things like that, to improve student attendance somehow. That little bit of money could help truancy. We heard a lot about that last week, and that's a big concern. So I will leave that decision to the administration. You can bring us back a plan next month if that's good, if that's okay. So to repeat my motion, it's a secondary motion to repurpose the $30,250 line item for board compensation to be used instead for student assistance.
Let me address that. I never said I was taking it. We were just passing it
So we could.
so all board members in the future would be able to take it instead of select it. Well, nobody ever said they were taking it.
I said
So
I
let's
was
let's
taking it.
correct that. I never said I was taking it. I just said it needs to be there for every board member in case down the road somebody else is elected to a certain seat, they have that option. It's there whether they want to use it as a recreation fund to support their schools or whatever. So let's back up. I never said I was taking it, Tripp.
So let me
But
make a
I
comment.
think I need to talk.
Go ahead.
When it came up from the beginning, and I think I brought it up the first night or the first day that I was on the board, because I do something. I don't sit at home, I visit schools. Now, some of them might not want me to come, but I come anyway. But, and it's gas, and I give some to some children. But don't stop my money because you don't want it. If you want to take your money and give it to a child or give it to a student, then that's what you do. I mean, don't come up with this thing to me that I'm not going to take it, so I think it should go there. I'm talking about you, Mr. Tripp. But don't stop me. I mean, if you don't want it, that's fine. But the way are you coming out tonight to me that you're saying that you don't want it and it shouldn't be given? Why shouldn't it be given? Because I mean, when I pull up to the gas station, I have to pay. And a lot of times when I go to the schools, I bring something, especially to elementary schools, and that's out of my pocket. You know, I get 2 checks, one from Social Security and the other one from the state. And then I get that one from the YMCA that I throw away. So, you know, if I'm throwing that YMCA check away, and if I'm getting something for the board, then I have something else to do with whatever else I like to have. I mean, I just don't understand it, because this has come up 2 or 3 times, and my thing is, it's other districts that get paid. It's not like nobody else would get paid with School District 5. And it's other districts that do get money. If you don't want it, give it to another child, give it to whatever you want to give it to. And I didn't think we was even on that, because I was still on the budget.
And Ms. Leverett, I don't like the inference that you're an unethical school board if you get paid, because our state legislature, our House and our Senate just voted them a very significant pay raise. My representative, Blake Sanders, said he's not taking the additional $1,500 of his pay. So he's gonna keep what he's been being paid, but he's gonna take that $15 and establish grants.
Okay.
I would think that might be a great thing. But you know what? They passed it one week and they're getting paid the next. So, you know, I don't know how it's unethical for school boards, but it's ethical for the state.
That, if you look at the current situation there, that's being challenged and they're being sued, and it's gonna go and be decided, and the whole point is you can't vote yourself a raise during your term. So it's the same problem that the Ethics Committee has already weighed in on, and I'm not accusing the board of being unethical, or if anybody wants to take the money, they absolutely can take the money. I have no problem about that. I have no problem with the boards being paid. 75% of the boards in this state are paid. So that is not illegal, it's not unethical. What I'm saying is, we've got 4 board members, I mentioned those by name, who have said they would not take it. I've checked with them a number of times. We're all agreed with them, that's fine. The point is.
But you never asked me, so you didn't quiz everybody.
Mr. Price, you're on record saying you oppose it, so.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the way it was handled and voted on and moved forward was, as the Ethics Commission has already ruled, was not appropriate. So Ms. Leverett, that money that's in the budget is not gonna be used this year, period. It can't be. It cannot be used until after November of the 2026 election. If you get reelected, if you're on the board, you get reelected, you can get the money. If somebody else gets elected, it really makes it a budget, it makes it an election issue. If your constituents think anybody's done a good job, they'll be reelected, they can get the money. I have no problems with that. My problem is we've got money in the budget that doesn't need to be there for board compensation. It can be used for something else. And I think it's looked a little foolish that we tried to move forward with that, and the Ethics Commission, we just didn't do our due diligence.
Well, okay, this is when I first started with this board thing. It says process by which board members are paid. School board govern themselves. The board decided on the process that will be best serve their members. The board can study how other states, as well as those in South Carolina, elect to compensate their members. Compensation can be set by the organization bylaws or governing documents, and may vary depending on the size and budget of the organization. Board members are paid in most cases as a pre-dim payment. In some cases, board members may receive a stipend or any other kind of services. So I don't understand why it was such a big thing for School District 5. Greenwood gets it, Oconee and Pickens gets it, Cherokee gets it. I mean, I just didn't understand.
And Greenville just upped theirs.
They did, and
started paying them.
as did Pickens and other districts. It's not a problem to pay, it's just the way in which we had to follow what the ethics laws say we
Well,
have to do.
When nobody else does.
Yeah, when nobody else.
That doesn't make a,
Doesn't make a
pointing
lot
somebody
of sense.
else's bad behavior
Well, and I
does
will
not
say this, all
justify your
all
behavior.
4 of the districts in Anderson County are waiting to see what we do, because nobody just knows how to do it. They've all said for years, going back to way before me, nobody knew how to do this. So, that's why there's no real guidance on it, to be honest with you. I think you did say there was some other committee looking at it other than Ethics Commission.
Well, a lot of other school districts, it's set to where they don't have to follow the process
Or the
that the
ethics.
Ethics Commission laid out, because their local legislative delegation comes in and sponsors local legislation. And then, I mean, that allows it under state law, but there's nothing that's ever been done in Anderson County, so that's, we have that process.
So,
So if we leave the money in there, we could talk to our local legislative delegation.
they would have to pass legislation in order for you to get it done,
Oh, my
correct?
God. I guess that's why we said
that's
last time.
an issue.
forget it.
Local.
That would be.
Let's
Just forget it.
let's work it out. Let's
No,
don't forget
just
it.
forget it. For
Well,
me, forget it.
Well, as I understand,
Because it's hard for me to beg. You know, I just
Understand.
don't like to beg.
I think the motion that I seconded was that to take the money that was designated for board compensation in this budget and repurpose it, because we have State Ethics Commission guidance that we shouldn't do it yet. So is that not the motion on the table? So I guess we would need some sort of, I guess we need to vote on that motion.
Correct.
And then I would just encourage, if we're gonna go against the Ethics Commission, you need some sort of legal advice on what to do now, which we don't have. So I think Mr. Dukes is just trying to make sure we're repurposing the money towards something
Useful.
useful.
And
And
that
while I'm
could
on
ha-
that, that student, I'm just unclear, we were talking about it in the public hearing about the potential extra revenue, $177,000. When we say, repurpose it for student activities, and there was some other item, what's the other item?
So
What
this
is
year,
that?
we piloted, we allowed our schools to do some after-school extension of the day and of standards. So what they did is they looked at every child individually, and based on their assessments, whether it's formative or the classroom assessment, they identified areas in which they were struggling. And so we were able to pay teachers to stay after school. We were able to pay for that piece of it, materials, so that those children could get additional help before they took the SC Ready. And so with that additional money that was given to us, and then I can loop this in as well, that's what it would be used for, to expand that program to all of our schools next year prior to their end of course assessment, prior to their SC Ready assessments, so that kids that are struggling, even though we're giving interventions during the day, we can continue to expand that. So that's what it would be.
And if we got some sort of legal advice saying that there was some way for you to take your compensation, I mean, something could be done, right? Going back, I mean, the money could come back in if it hadn't happened, right? And this is not the end all be all.
Well, they would have to take that up in next session.
Right, but I'm
Which is
just
not-
saying, if the board voted to accept some sort of legal advice, whether it's against the Ethics Commission or not, there's still some medium to get your money, right? I mean, this is not the last call for,
My suggestion is to leave the money there and allow finance to transfer the money out as needed.
Yes, so to Mr. Thompson's question, yes, if repurposing the money, as Mr. Duke says, or however the board would like to do, is not changing the bottom line of the budget.
Right.
So if something came up next January and you talked to the election commission or your local delegation and it was able to be changed, it would not be in addition to the budget, it would just be reversals and amendment in the budget between accounts. So yes, y'all are saying the same thing, whether we repurpose it to incentives and then it, as board compensation is allowed, we can easily move the 30,000 back down to board compensation if it is. If it's not, then, we can move it to incentives. Either way is not gonna change the bottom line to what the 25-26 budget presentation or number would be that we're requesting.
So there's a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I would like to say, I don't have a problem with board compensation. I have a problem with us boards voting to compensate themselves. I feel that should be up to the taxpayers, maybe by referendum. And even the House, my House representative, April Cromer, is refusing to take that. And it puts them in a pickle with the way that was done as well. I don't believe these bodies need to be voting themselves raises. It should come from the people.
So there's a motion and a second to repurpose that $30,250, so.
There
I
was a
think we was
second.
on the
Yeah,
budget. My understanding, we were on your budget that you just presented to us. I think that's what we were on. I think that's what we were voting on.
Yes, ma'am.
We
We
have
already
to-
had a budget, a motion and a second to approve the budget.
Yeah, and he offered a substitute motion, so we need to vote on the substitute motion, and then, if it passes, it alters the budget.
It just
Yeah.
changes the category.
But, if it doesn't pass, then we vote for the budget as a whole. So we need to vote for his substitute motion
Right.
first. Am I right, Kyle?
Do I have a motion to vote for his substitute motion now?
Yeah, I think you have.
Yeah, you've
motion
already
and
got a
second.
motion and a second, so we
Well,
just
I-
need to vote.
Oh, so we would vote it, no, tell me which one we voting on now.
Yeah, we're voting on his motion to repurpose that $30,000
Uh-huh,
to something else.
To a student assistance
Okay.
would be the category specifically.
oh,
Is what
okay.
I'm asking.
So we already had the discussion.
Correct.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 and 2 not, because we don't have a 7 or 5 and 3.
5 and 3. Well, we
Five.
asked
Call
asked
for
opposed.
opposition.
Call for opposed.
Proposed,
Opposition, 3.
3.
So we had 5.
We got 8.
there's number 8 here tonight. So 5 and 3 is 8.
Okay, so,
Okay, so we finished with that one.
right, so now we got Mr. Price, you made a motion for the regular budget.
Mhm.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah,
Branch,
I
I'll second
seconded.
So we're voting for what now? What we voting for now?
The regular budget
Oh, the
presentation.
budget, oh, okay. So you've already made the motion and the second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there any discussion on that?
Just one comment. We are so very fortunate in this district to be able to fund in the way we are funding it. I talk to a lot of districts that don't have all the things that we have, and I'm grateful to God, grateful to the taxpayers for all we have right here. I'm nearly emotional about it, about how fortunate we are in this community with our public schools, and I appreciate all the hard work of the board. There's a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears went into this, and I appreciate all y'all's work, and I hope we can just continue to do what we've been doing and honor the taxpayer, honor the student. Thank you.
Great comment.
Well done.
Thank you.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? I don't oppose the budget, I just oppose some things. So it's been approved.
Unanimous.
Superintendent's report, monthly finance report.
Yes, ma'am. I'll ask Ms. Amy Hurd if she'll come forward and she will discuss our monthly financial reports that were included in your packet.
Yes, good evening. Last thing, I will not stand up and talk about the budget anymore for about 6 months, so congratulations. We will obviously talk about the budget every month with your financial packet, but we will not be doing any long conversations, Ms. Leverett. That's just for you. We're gonna give you a break on that for a few months, but, until you guys wanna do something different, and we'll be glad to pull that information back at that point. One thing before we do jump off the budget that I forgot to tell you in the public hearing is that, but we brought it up, the information was provided to the county board today. We will be delivering your packages of the exact information that the county board received this afternoon at 4:30 to you. As soon as we put them in a notebook for you, we just had to deliver a hard copy to them, but we will have it put in a notebook and delivered to each one of you, so you'll have the same information that they received as well. Because they did change the process this year on the information that they requested, so it is a little different than what we have done in the past. We'll get that to you. But if we look at our sales tax collections here on the, you have the information in your packet that was sent out last week. But for the folks in the audience, our sales tax collections for the month of March that we received in May was another strong month. It was $1.39 million in total allocation for Anderson School District 5. That is about $28,000 less than the same time last month. But if you'll remember during our board meeting last month, I talked about how significantly higher that is than any other February in the past. I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but great numbers there. So we are a little less than that, but it's $120,000 more than the same time last year. So yellow is our current month. We compare it to the previous month, it was $28,000 less. If you compare the yellow to the green, it's $120,000 more than that. Just as a reminder for everybody, the total allocation is what we get. The 20% comes off the top. That's what property tax relief is. That goes to pay down old bonds that are not sales tax bonds to help keep our debt low, our debt millage low. And then the amount for capital projects is what we use for the capital projects that we're currently doing, as well as paying the bond debt for any capital projects that we started with the sales tax money. So just make sure everybody is aware of that. So again, coming in very strong, and that does again go through February of 2030. Additionally, we have, looking at our financial statements for the month, we're getting close to year end. So comparing May of last year to May of this year from a monthly standpoint, if you look at our fund balance, you can see it is decreased. That was what, we planned on that. We were more aggressive on our revenues last year, so we expected that decrease there. If you look at our property tax revenue, it's like we've talked about. Individuals pay different times of the year, businesses pay different times of the year, cars come to you different times of the year. So we haven't received as much this May as we did last May. Our investment income is slightly down from last year, but again, if you look down here at the bottom, our interest rate is 1.04% less than it was the same time last year. So again, we still feel that our investment income is very strong, and really happy. Yes, sir.
Can Craig put that on our screens?
Get out of it, Craig.
Everybody's twisted.
Yeah. And Excel, those numbers get kind of small.
They do. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Sorry.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Much better.
Yeah. That's all right, we're good. So again, property tax revenue still strong, just not as much as last year. Investment income, our state revenues that we're receiving are stronger than last year. Again, that's state and a state from teacher money from the state, as well as property tax from the state, manufacturer's depreciation, those items that the state calculates and sends to us directly. Then you're gonna see the transfers from states and grants, and I'm gonna be real honest, this is a journal entry that finance needs to do. We had to have these financial statements out to you so early last week that we had not received the information from the state yet. We have that now, so that journal entry will be done. So that will go up about $960,000 for last month's revenue, so it'll be much closer to our 1.15 in the previous year. Our expenditures are up, but again, that was anticipated. So there is nothing really that is standing out when you look at the financial statements at the end of May. I think we're in good shape. We'll end the year in good shape. But there is one thing that I just want to make sure that we all are aware of, is our fiscal year ends on June 30th, but there will be several months, at least July and August, where we will be paying bills that get accrued back to June 30th. Any employee that doesn't work 230-day contracts or more, their salary for the year goes through July 30th, and that gets accrued back to June 30th. So it's August 15th to July 31st, but it goes into the fiscal year 24-25 because that's the time frame that they worked. We have done that. That's a standard practice that every school district does, and that we've done it my entire time here as well. So I just want you to know that we will still be accruing numbers back to June, even after we close the year after June 30th. Invoices will come in after. Some of our staff members are off for the summer. When they come back in, they'll send in the invoices and we'll get those paid. So we will be working on June 30th long after June 30th before we'll have you good numbers for the year. But we are in good shape as of the end of May, and I think that we will be in good shape as the end of June, and we'll bringing out more details at our next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to say something. I appreciate the budget and it's balanced and no tax increase, but I have a couple of proposals just to save money. One would be a salary study, as many constituents believe that the administration may be top-heavy. And the second would be the selling of the downtown district office, which Wilson had proposed it would cost $5.6 million, but in effect, $7 million was spent on that office downtown. Thank you.
Executive session, session 3470A1, discussion of employment and appointments, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, or release of employees regulated by a public body. 2025-26 personnel recommendation, section 3470A2, discussion of proposed purchase or sale of property. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of, raise your hand, is going into executive